Having worked as Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations and Deputy Executive Director of UNEP, I'm a strong believer in the mutual supportiveness of trade and the environment. While trying to revive the WTO's rulemaking function and extend its rulebook to e-commerce and the digital economy, greater efforts must also be made to address challenges such as the nexus between trade and the circular and green economy and climate change. While the preamble to the Marrakesh Agreement makes reference to sustainable development, there is no coherent body of rules on the interface between trade and the environment and climate change. The WTO can support environmental sustainability through various ways, including by expanding the rights of countries to provide green subsidies, provided they observe the non-discrimination principle and ensure that measures adopted do not constitute a disguised restriction on trade. On fossil fuel subsidy reform, it's up to the WTO members to commence negotiations just as they have done with the fisheries subsidies. Since the creation of the multilateral trading system in 1948, trade has been an instrument for growth and development. Close to 1 billion people have been lifted out of absolute poverty, and many countries have seen an improvement in their living standards in all respects. While the WTO does not address labor rights per se, Article 20 of the GATT recognizes the right of countries to restrict trade where forced labor has been used in the manufacture of goods. At the Singapore Ministerial Conference in 1996, WTO members mandated the WTO Secretariat to continue its collaboration with the ILO. We have seen that the new generation of free trade agreements have dedicated chapters on trade and labor. I believe that with time, WTO members will take up this issue as well. As I just observed, trade has lifted close to 1 billion people out of absolute poverty and improved the living standards of most of our countries. WTO members realize that the benefits from trade must be equitably shared, hence their commitment to providing special and differential treatment and aid for trade to least developed and other developing countries. There are currently about 47 LDCs, and they account for around 1% of world trade. More, of course, needs to be done to ensure that they are able to use trade as an engine of economic growth and sustainable development. Governments must also adopt targeted measures to ensure that the benefits from trade are equitably shared within their borders. This would require providing inter alia job training and other kinds of support to people who may lose their jobs as a result of the changing global economy. As a minister in Kenya and a high-level official in the United Nations system, I've always promoted the empowerment of women. If selected, I will ensure that women are adequately represented in the senior management team. It will also be important for there to be more women in director and councillor positions in the WTO Secretariat. With respect to the participation of women in the global economy, I think a lot needs to be done to empower women. While the Buenos Aires Declaration on Women and Trade and Gender is a step in the right direction, more still has to be done at the national, at the regional, and at the multilateral levels to ensure that women have the same opportunities as men to excel in business and in other fields. Education is certainly key in providing opportunities for women, and countries can also be more proactive in terms of encouraging women to run for office and appointing them to ministerial and other high positions, and also providing them with loans and other types of support to ensure that they succeed in business and other ventures. All WTO members agree that a robust dispute settlement system is critical to ensuring security and predictability to the multilateral trading system. We need to work hard to reform the dispute settlement system as soon as possible. The reform system should not stray from the mandate as given by members and cannot add to or diminish the rights of members under the covered agreements. Any reforms should not compromise the independence and impartiality of the system. The MPIA, whose members acknowledge is temporary, has some interesting provisions which could be built upon in the process of reform. As a former dispute settlement body chair, I will work hard with all members to address the systemic concerns that have been raised. We need a dispute resolution system that commands the respect and the confidence of all members of the WTO.